Hello, this is Professor Marsh, and we're getting down to the end of the course for the VITA volunteers. Today, we're going to look at other taxes. So there's a lesson number 27 in your lesson plan, and that's regarding other taxes. And so look at the 2022 lesson plans, and what you'll see on the first page are some terms and an introduction and some objectives. This is kind of a grab bag topic. It's got information about one very important additional tax, particularly for some of our lower income workers, and that's the self-employment tax. The self-employment tax is like the Social Security tax, but it's for people who have, their own businesses. And a lot of times our lower income workers work for themselves, and they do maybe handyman jobs, or they work in the agricultural or perhaps the landscaping fields as self-employed, as opposed to being on a regular payroll. And so the self-employment tax allows them to report their income from working, and it taxes them the way that Social Security would tax both the employer and the employee, but it also gives them a deduction for the employer's portion of the self-employment tax. And then the earned income credit refunds to them a large portion, or perhaps in some cases all, of the employee's portion of the Social Security tax, the 6.2% part of the 7.65% FICA tax that is taken out of W-2 workers' paychecks. And so it puts self-employed people on the same footing as people who were lower income and who receive a W-2. Also, another topic is taxes on unreported tip income, taxes and penalties on distributions from qualified retirement plans, and then also repayment of the first-time homebuyer credit. I'm just going to mention this once at the outset. The first-time home buyer credit was a credit for people purchasing their first house back in 2008, 2009, 2010, which were the years of the Great Recession and the meltdown in the mortgage market. And in 2008, there was a provision that encouraged home buying by first-time home buyers by giving them a $7,500 credit. It was kind of a front-end credit. You would get the credit and you could basically use it on your closing, so that you would have some equity for the house you were purchasing. And then after the mortgage market melted down at the end of 2008 and into 2009, 2010, they increased the amount of the credit to $8,000. Well, the 2008 credit actually required that the homeowner live in the house for at least 15 years, using it as their primary residence. And if they didn't do that, then there was an additional tax that was assessed for the amount of time of that 15-year kind of clawback period that related to, like $500 a year for 15 years to reimburse part of that credit. So that's a topic that you probably won't run into, but just understand that the first-time homebuyer credit is one that is for 2008 purchasers. If we ever happen to have one of those, that it can cause additional taxation. So if you go on to the second page of the lesson plan, you'll see as the presentation aids, you should consider these as your additional resources as students. The Form 13614C We've now gotten to page 2, parts 3 and 5 with regard to unreported tips and self-employment income, and you can see that on those forms. You can also look at Form 1040 and Publication 17. Those are our basic tax return form, and then also the publication, which is the basic instructions, your federal income taxes. And you can see that Publication 17 has several chapters. Chapter 7 related to Social Security and the railroad retirement benefits. I don't know if we'll get anyone who made their living working on the railroad all the live long day, but if we do, we can figure out their railroad retirement benefits and how those are taxed or not taxed in Chapter 7 of Publication 17. Chapter 11 with respect to additional taxes, and Chapter 13, how to figure your tax and other taxes. So anyhow, feel free to look at those. The Publication 531 deals with reporting tip income. Publication 575 regarding pension and annuity income. Those are there. If you get questions or confused, by the basic rules, but you probably wouldn't have to refer to those unless there was an issue. And then Publication 4012, which is our basic resource guide for VITA volunteers. And as we look at Publication 4012, we want to look at the other taxes, payments, and refundable credits tab, which is Form 1040, page 2, other refundable other taxes, payments, and refundable credits. So the first one to take a look at is probably the self-employment tax. You have a Publication 334 as a resource, and then also in Publication 4012 in the Income tab, you'll see Schedule C Business Income, pages 1 and 2, and Publication 4012, also the Adjustments to Income tab. We had the Adjustments to Income lesson earlier on in the course, but these are all important topics for people who have self-employment income. If you have an unincorporated business and you basically work for yourself, then you file a Schedule C with your taxes, and this tab in Publication 4012 shows you how to do that reporting. There is a tax layer demonstration video, which is linked, and I refer you to that. That's entering other taxes, the self-employment tax, Schedule SE, and you can see that on page 3 of the lesson plan. So self-employment tax is basically Social Security tax for the self-employed, and that has a number of tax consequences that affects so many things. Obviously, it goes into adjusted gross income. There's a special deduction for the employer's portion of the self-employment tax. There is also the self-employment tax itself is an increase. It's an other tax. It's an increase in the amount due from the taxpayer. But then that self-employment income will also help to qualify certain taxpayers to get a refund of the employee's portion of the self-employment tax by claiming the earned income credit. So going on to page 4 regarding unreported tip income, you have links to Publication 17 in the current 2022 version, and Chapter 6 on Social Security and Medicare tax on tips, Form 4137 and Form W2. If you have tips that are reported on Form W2, they don't have to be reported again. So just take a look, maybe do, I found it helpful to go to the lessons and the skills uh, workout on other taxes and to look at the examples about tips. And then also it's helpful to take a look at the tax layer demonstration video on entering other taxes and the tax on unreported tip income, which is Form 4137. So again, if the tips are on the W-2, then you are uh, going to be reporting them on the W-2. If they're not, then they get reported on the Form 4137. And the filing requirement for unreported tips is $20 per month or more. So it's a very, very low threshold requiring workers who receive tips to have to pay Social Security and Medicare taxes on those unreported tips. So that's a potential additional tax, and it's just like self-employment tax. Then qualified retirement plans. Sometimes taxpayers who are under age 59 and a half take distributions from their retirement plans, and if they're not for some emergency or other exception, or perhaps a loan that doesn't get repaid from a retirement plan that permits loans, then there is a early distribution penalty of 10%. And so that's an additional tax. In addition to the income tax on the distribution, there is also a penalty tax of a flat 10% on those early distributions out of tax qualified retirement plans. So someone who had to grab some money in a hurry, got it out of their retirement plan, didn't have it as a qualified loan or didn't have an exemption for some reason, then you have a 10% early distribution tax. And you can see the tab for publication 4012, and then also the tax layer demonstration video, entering other taxes and the tax on early distributions. And there's also a Form 5329 Part 1. That is for reporting the exception to the additional tax on early distribution. So if you get a distribution, you get a 1099-R, which is the retirement account distribution recording form, and you have an exception to the additional tax on early distributions, and you can see those exceptions both on the instructions for Form 5329 and also in publication 17. So those are both important references, and again, the tax layer demonstration shows you exactly how to enter the 5329 information and basically provides a nice summary and guide to the most likely types of exceptions you might run across. First-time homebuyer credit is also discussed on page 5 of the lesson plan, and it shows you how to enter that. It's unlikely that we would come across that in our practice, but if we do, you can see how that's done as well. So those are all. Oh, and there is a tax layer demonstration video on that. I actually haven't watched that yet because I don't want to discourage you from watching it. It's I suspect relatively short and sweet, and probably with the same high quality that most of the tax layer videos are. So let's see, it's only 6 minutes. So that's
in this topic we cover entering other taxes.
I'll close that out now. But in any event, those are the things that I gleaned from the lesson plan, and then also there is a set of PowerPoint slides as well, and the PowerPoint slides I think do a nice job of presenting some of these topics as well. So if you look in the classroom presentations and you go to lesson number 27 on other taxes, you'll see some of the same information that we've just discussed. It begins with a copy of Schedule 2 to the Form 1040, which is the additional taxes form, and you can see that, and then it's got various references and with respect to the topics that we just discussed as far as self-employment tax, tip income, retirement plans, and the first-time home buyer credit. Anyhow, take a look at that, and then if you'd like, maybe go back and go through the Link and Learn taxes and go to the skills workout for the other taxes workout, and that starts you with publication 4491 and takes you through about 16 pages with the usual case studies and the ability to check your answers before you take any of the questions on the certification exam about these other issues. So it goes through some of the typical questions for self-employment tax. It tells you about the deduction that you're permitted to take in calculating adjusted gross income. It tells you about the waitress and the reporting requirements for tips, and gives you some questions about which tip income is exempt from additional taxes, and you can see that in your materials, and the very low threshold for unreported tips. Then you will see some additional examples on the tip income, then some examples on distributions from IRAs and pensions and annuities, and then a discussion of the first-time home buyer's credit, and then on page 14 of the skills workout, we get to the out-of-scope situations, and interestingly enough, household employment taxes are one of our out-of-scope situations. And what that means is that household employment taxes for the person who has employed a household worker, not for the worker themselves. We certainly may get some household workers as clients, but only if they themselves have household workers working in their houses while they're working in somebody else's house, do they have to lose the benefit of being able to use VITA or TCE to prepare their taxes. So you'll see those out-of-scope situations. Most of these are folks who are, going to have higher income than our typical customers. Then there's a certification warm-up, drill, and practice, and again, you can check your answers on that. And then we've got the link to the tax layer training video that we just talked about a short minute ago. So anyhow, that's it for other taxes. Keep up your studies. Good luck with the certification exam. I have a few more topics that I'm going to be going through. I'm going to go through the payments material, the refund and completing the return material, and then amended and prior years return workout, and then we'll have a final lesson which will just be on prepping for the certification exam. So good luck with all of this. We've only got a few days left before the end of the January term, but look forward to successfully completing this and getting everybody certified. So have a great day. Bye-bye.